Some men watch the world, others change it. Before he was a famous writer, he was a spy of society. Welcome to the channel. Today, we will explore an incredible story. Pay close attention to our grammar focus. We are analyzing the past simple and the past continuous. Look at how they contrast in the narrative. Our story begins in a distant place. Eric Blair was born in 1903. He was born in India. At that exact time, his father was working hard. He was working as a minor customs official for the British Empire. His family belonged to a very specific class. They belonged to what he later called the lower upper middle class. They were trying to look rich, however, they did not have much money in reality. This silent financial tension was constantly worrying his parents. It worried them during his early childhood. When Eric was only 1 year old, a big change happened. His mother moved back to England with him. He grew up in Oxfordshire without seeing his father very much. Eric was an incredibly intelligent boy. He easily won scholarships to study at expensive private schools. Eventually, his hard work opened doors. He entered the prestigious Eton College. While he was studying at Eton, his life changed. He was living among the richest boys in the country. He was observing the future rulers of Great Britain. He watched them every single day. He noticed their total confidence. He saw their absolute certainty about their social superiority. However, Eric always felt like an outsider because he was just a scholarship boy. While his classmates were enjoying their privileges, Eric was analyzing the invisible barriers of the English class system. He finished his studies in 1921, but he surprised everyone because he did not go to university. Instead, he chose a completely unexpected path. In 1922, a major change happened. Eric joined the Indian Imperial Police. He packed his bags. Soon, he traveled to Burma for a completely new life. For 5 long years, he was serving the British Empire in a distant place. He lived in a beautiful but troubled land. Tension was growing every single day. He was wearing a strict uniform. He was holding a rifle during his long shifts. He did his job. Sometimes, he was arresting local people in the busy streets. While he was doing his duty, his perspective on the world was changing completely. He saw everything clearly. He observed the cruel machinery of imperialism from the deep inside. He never forgot one specific day. A strange crisis occurred in a small village. He was searching for a dangerous elephant. The big animal was causing severe damage. When he finally found the animal, it was eating peacefully in a green field. The elephant was calm. There was no real reason to kill the beautiful creature. However, thousands of local people were standing behind him. They wanted some immediate action. They were watching the white official closely. They expected him to act like a leader. Eric realized a dark truth. He had to look powerful in front of them. He pulled the trigger. A loud noise suddenly echoed through the entire jungle scenery. While the elephant was dying slowly, Eric understood a terrifying and hidden truth. When a man becomes a tyrant, he destroys his own personal freedom forever. He left Burma in 1927. He was suffering from poor and weak health. Also, he felt a deep disgust. He hated his official imperial job completely. He decided to act. He wanted to understand the world from the very bottom. He moved to Paris. He deliberately chose a life of extreme and harsh poverty. While rich tourists were dining in elegant hotels, Eric had a different reality. He was washing dirty dishes. He worked in hot, dark, and chaotic kitchens. He was working exhausting shifts. He was earning almost nothing for his labor. Later, he returned to London. He lived like a simple tramp there too. He was sleeping in cold shelters. He experienced the dark winter nights. He was walking on the streets. He was spending time with real beggars. In 1933, he published his experiences. He wrote a brilliant and famous book. He used a new pen name. This was the birth of George Orwell. In 1936, a new mission arrived. An editor asked Orwell to investigate something. He traveled north. He investigated the poor living conditions of many working-class families. While he was visiting mining towns like Wigan, he was observing a brutal reality. Miners were working in dangerous conditions. They worked deep down under the cold ground. Their young children were living in tiny, damp houses. Poverty was visible everywhere. This sad experience inspired a powerful journalistic book. He titled it The Road to Wigan Pier. Later that same year, a historic event happened. A violent civil war broke out. Fascist forces under General Franco were attacking the Democratic Republic. The country was suffering. Orwell wanted to fight fascism directly. He traveled to Spain to join the conflict. He joined a leftist militia called the POUM. He wanted to protect human rights. While he was fighting on the freezing front of Aragon, he experienced something else. He discovered the true monotony of war. It was not like the books. He was enduring lice, bad food, and constant, heavy boredom in the deep trenches. Then, a sudden danger struck. A hidden fascist sniper shot Orwell directly through the neck. The fast bullet missed his main artery by a single millimeter, but he survived. While he was recovering from his severe wound, a completely different tragedy was unfolding. This dark tragedy happened behind the front lines. It started in the city of Barcelona. The communist parties turned against their own allies. They followed strict orders from Moscow. They falsely declared that the POUM organization was a dangerous and illegal fascist group. While innocent soldiers were fighting Franco on the battlefield, the dark betrayal began at home. The communist secret police was arresting their own close comrades in the cold streets. Orwell and his wife Eileen had to hide. They stayed in secret safe houses. They were watching their close friends disappear. Their friends vanished into dark, hidden prisons. Orwell safely escaped Spain in 1938. He left the conflict behind with deep thoughts. This direct experience with total political propaganda changed his perspective on the world forever. During World War II, Orwell was working for the BBC. He felt very busy during those difficult years. But he was also planning his next masterpiece in secret. He was designing a very unique book. Between 1943 and 1944, he was writing a short political fable. He called it Animal Farm. He finished the handwritten manuscript in only 3 months. However, publishing it was a real, terrible nightmare. The main story was very simple but devastating. It was a warning about the abuse of power. The desperate animals of Manor Farm revolted against their human master. They wanted to create a fair society. However, the clever and greedy pigs slowly took control. They took complete control of everything on the farm. While the other animals were working harder, they were receiving much less food for their heavy labor. At the exact same time, the greedy pigs were rewriting their history. They were changing the rules. At the dark end of the book, the pigs were walking tall on 2 legs like humans. They looked exactly like human tyrants. The poor animals could not see any difference between them anymore. This political story was a clear, direct allegory of the Russian Revolution and its severe dictatorship. Because the Soviet Union was a powerful ally during World War II, British publishers were terrified of printing. They feared a massive political scandal. Important editors like T.S. Eliot rejected the brilliant manuscript immediately. A British official from the Ministry of Information was advising many publishers against printing the controversial story. Orwell realized a sad truth. Educated people were voluntarily suppressing highly uncomfortable truths due to political convenience. Finally, a small publisher accepted the high risk. Animal Farm came out to the public in 1945. Quickly became an instant, global success. However, Orwell was already becoming very ill and weak. In 1946, Orwell moved to Barnhill. It was a remote and isolated farmhouse in Scotland. He wanted a very quiet place. He was writing his final and most famous novel, 1984. The wild conditions on the island were terrible. The weather was freezing and the house was damp. While his weak lungs were failing due to tuberculosis, Orwell was typing furiously every single day. He worked hard through the terrible pain. He struggled to finish his ultimate and greatest masterpiece. He was creating a dark world. In this story, a totalitarian party controlled absolutely everything. A mysterious leader ruled this society. People called this powerful and menacing figure Big Brother. In this terrible world, interactive telescreens were constantly watching every citizen. No one was safe. A special government office existed. This office was the famous and powerful Ministry of Truth. The workers were continuously rewriting all historical records. They were changing the past for propaganda. The party was even introducing newspeak. It was a simplified language designed to control human minds. This restricted language made any rebellious thoughts completely impossible. The citizens lost their intellectual freedom.